Hey, this is Alexa Peterson with the Hitting Vault. We're going to be taking a look at Adrián Beltré's home run here. This is from 2018 and was his third to last home run of his career. He hit it off of left-handed pitcher Yarborough from the Rays. This is a pitch that's kind of cutting down and in on him. So we're going to take a look at this pitch. So you can't quite see from his starting stance what his starting stance is from this view, but he starts with his front foot just a tad bit closed. Pretty well balanced, and his knob, he kind of starts with his barrel a little bit farther back towards the catcher is his starting stance. So as he loads, he has his knob go pretty far back behind his head. A lot of people would consider that wrapping, but what's important here is that when he gets to his launch position, right there, you'll notice he gets to a good position where his knob is actually down towards the catcher. So a lot of kids that wrap their bat behind their head, way over here, when that front heel hits, they've either already dropped their back shoulder really far or their knob is pointed towards the umpire more. The umpire's right there. It's wrapped around there, and that's not what most elite hitters do. Majority of elite hitters at launch position, which is right when that heel hits, has their knob down towards the catcher somewhere in this range. That's where most elite hitters have their bat angled. So a couple other things here. He's nice and balanced with his body. His front shoulder is down. His front foot, he likes to have it open a little bit with his toes open. But as in general, as a straight line, he strides pretty straight, maybe a little bit closed with his front foot. And that's just something that he was able to have his hips rotate well still while striding a little bit closed. Some hitters, when they stride closed, their hips don't rotate, and that's the worst thing that you can do. And so sometimes for hitters that their hips don't like to rotate naturally, they have a tough time rotating them, having them actually stride a little bit open helps them, as long as they can maintain this good posture position with their upper half when they get to that launch position. So something else you'll notice is his back elbow is down. Doesn't really matter if your back elbow is down or back elbow is up. There's variances with a lot of elite hitters, but the important thing is this front shoulder slightly angled down and that knob to the catcher. So whatever is comfortable for a hitter, whether that elbow is here, there, down here, or even tucked down, doesn't really matter as long as the rest of this looks good with that upper half. And that means knob to the catcher, front shoulder slightly lower than the back shoulder. You notice his chin is really close to that front shoulder. It's very common as well, and that has to do a lot with that tilt, that torso tilt or hip hinge of that launch position. We want to have that hip hinge, torso tilt kind of leaned over home plate a little bit. So something else, good distance between his feet. It's about half of his height. A lot of kids stride way too far and they lose this posture position up here, or they don't stride far enough, and that makes their barrel work really quick into the zone and out of it really, really quick. So he's kind of a good natural 50% of his body height, give or take a little bit, is his stride length, or the distance between his feet at launch position. So from there, we start to see his front knee is starting to rotate hard with his hips turning. This back knee is turning. All of that is turning ahead of his hands. And most of that is due to the fact when that heel hits, his hands are still up and back. And that's creating a lot of tension and torque through here. Whereas if his hands were this close to him, he wouldn't be creating that much tension. So this tension is created by his hands and his still being up and back. This bottom hand elbow being greater than 90 degrees is creating torque because he's going forward, but this is all staying back. So you see his lower half start to turn, and his hands are starting to move, but he's not pushing them straight down towards the ball. You see that his hips are what's turning and making that barrel start to go towards the ball. Right there, we see his belt buckle towards the pitcher. He's right around his bat drag area right there. And he's recognized at this point that this pitch is cutting inside. So you're seeing him really trying to work his barrel, getting it there to contact point. having his hips turn hard. He's making contact point with that inside pitch, a little bit out front of his front foot. The ball's right there, in front of his front foot. If it was a pitch that was right down the middle, he would probably have it right about here, just off his front foot, somewhere in that range. And outside pitches, you see it kind of just inside that back foot right there is where he would be making contact. But he was able to pick this up and started to turn hard and get his barrel to a good strong position while making contact down in front. If he'd waited too long, it would have just eaten him up. It would have kept cutting in, and he would have not been able to hit this for a home run here. But I really like to see his hips, looking at his hips, turning and how his front knee isn't instantly locking out. We don't want to just lock out because it's going to push our weight back. He's rotating his hips as if there's a bar right in the middle of him, rotating them around. As he gets close to contact, now you really see his front knee start to lock out. You can see it right there. Real close to contact. His belt buckle is facing the pitcher well before contact. His back foot, if we look right here, pretty much becomes weightless, comes up on his toe right around the time that knee is straightening. And after contact, you see his back heel fall backwards, and that's okay. Totally fine for you to catch yourself after contact, but we don't want us to squish the bug and have that back heel just go right back towards the catcher. If you'll notice this heel, if I were to put a line right here, comes up on his toe after contact, that's when that heel comes back over there. You'll see his extension too is kind of up and around this way. That's because he was trying really hard to get his barrel, the meat of his bat, to be right on time with that barrel, or with the ball, and so you're actually seeing him continue out this way, which is something that you see a lot with Mike Trout. We see that a lot. That's just his natural extension. But your extension is not due because you're just pushing your hands and trying to force it out towards center field. It's more of just a result of how your hands are working towards the ball. So he was trying to get his barrel out in front to be on time with this pitch out here, and so he made it a great bat path to the ball, and then is continuing up around that way. You actually see him roll over this front foot a little bit too. And that's okay. Whatever it takes to get those hips going ahead and be able to get that barrel to be on time with the pitch. So he's got good shoulder tilt right here. His head is right in line with his back knee. And he hit this to left field. So great finish there too. You're going to see on inside pitches where hitters are on time, their back is going to be facing home plate. May not always happen on outside pitches, but for sure on inside pitches, if a hitter is on time, their back should be down towards home plate. So overall, he had an awesome career, so it was great to check out the swing.